When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
There's no better feeling than a personal win, and the State Farm Personal Price Plan can help you do just that. Talk to a State Farm agent today to learn how you can bundle and save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
Right, we are here to do another one of our national counties cricket shows. So every 2 or 3 weeks, as you know, we're going to jump from the Premier League to the national counties. And join us once again is Operations Director for the National Counties, Richard Logan. You've had a busy weekend last couple of days. Richard, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay, thank you. It's good to be here. Yeah, it's been a pretty intense few days, really, with a few things that have happened. Obviously, it's a new format in the T20, so we've been going through the next stage of that, our Super 12s. But it's been good fun to go through, to be fair, and we've got to a pretty good stage now where we've got all the next sort of phase confirmed. Yeah, looking forward to seeing how those days work out.
So you got through these group stages with just over half the games got played in the end, which I think myself and Hugh, we were discussing this a couple of weeks ago. We thought if you'd got 25% played, you'd have been bloody lucky, to be frank. So I think we've done all right in the end to get through just over half the games, haven't we?
Yeah, you go, I think it was like 2 or 3 months ago, you look at it and say we've only played half the games, we'd be really disappointed. But then you'd come to me 2 weeks ago and said that I've been over the moon. So I think it's testament to the efforts of all the counties and all the host clubs. So I must say a big thank you to all them for all the efforts that they've put in, because we all know that it's getting a cricket wicket prepared and hosting one of our games isn't the easiest thing anyway, and takes a lot of time and effort and resources. And to do it in the environment that they've had to do it in over the last few weeks has been even more so. And yeah, so a massive thank you to everyone that made that cricket possible in the first instance. A big congratulations to all the players, because there's been some cracking performances. The quality's been high, as it always is. The T20 is historically a really high standard competition, because we have the likes of some of the first class players that come back preparing for the blast, not playing championship cricket. So yeah, it's been, and obviously all of our players are strong as well. So it's a really good competition, and it's been good to get that amount of games in.
Definitely. Hey, let's have a quick look before we look at who's gone through to the Super 12. Should we have a look at some of those star performances? And I think just one stands out, Hugh, doesn't it, from the batting perspective, last weekend in particular?
Well, George Hargrave had a terrific tournament, didn't he? Top of the tree there, with his score of 129 not out, playing for Shropshire versus Welsh National Counties, who didn't have a tournament. They had a bit of a tournament to forget. Mm-hmm. But yeah, terrific performance from him, and he just, his strike rate of 216 across 4 innings, just he won games on his own.
Most definitely. And who else stood out for you in those batters, Richard? You've been looking around, obviously, a lot of the results. Who stood out for you?
Yeah, you're going to put me on the spot now, aren't you? Because I can never remember who does. And it was George, to be fair, that really, really stuck out with that performance, wasn't it? I think it was nearly 300 strike rate for that particular innings.
Mm-hmm. That innings, 129 not out. Here we go to edit this in off 44 balls, striking at 293, 7 fours, 13 sixes. So a hell of a performance. Wales put up a decent total there as well, and Shropshire knocked it off with 6 overs to go.
Well, he's got a history in doing that, because I know last year he played against Dorset, where Sam Young and David Scott both got massive scores. I think Youngie got a double 100, Scott got 170 odd, and then he went and got double 100 in the fourth innings to knock it off, having got 100 in the first. So he's definitely got history there. I think Wardy got Harrison Ward had got a 90 odd,
95.
Ben Clayton got a 90 odd as well. All lads that we've been looking at and working with over the last couple of years. So it's good to see them coming through. But I think they were the sort of standout performances.
In the batting,
it was all about the strike rates for me. You know, the teams with guys hitting consistently above 150 strike rates with the teams that got through to the next round. We had Wales with both Stephen Roberts and Henry Hurls in the top run scorers, but both of those just striking at 125 or thereabouts. Again, pitches, conditions, very different, potentially down where they were playing, but they seem to have not been able to lift the strike rate to the level that their competitors got.
I'm going to say on that point, it seems quite a key thing, doesn't it, in T20 to have those strike rates, and they've certainly become more relevant over the last few years, because we talk about momentum in T20, which is so key. And if you change the momentum of the game by coming in and having a super high strike rate, obviously you get 130 with a 300 strike rate, you're going to change your game. But even if you get in and you score 50 or 60 or even 40 off of 20 balls or 30 balls, you change the momentum of the game, and that's so important in T20 cricket to have that, be on the right side of that. And as soon as you're not, the games can change really, really quickly. So I think that's probably where you get a true reflection of a high strike rate and a positive outcome if you've got that, because you can swing the momentum. And you always say that, and if you have a good last 2 or 3 overs, you feel like you've got the momentum going into bowling. So that is really key, and I think that's just become more relevant over the last few years.
Yeah, I think it was Charlie Hood of Cornwall. I think he had an interesting little tournament, lots of little cameos, but I think it was a 13 not out, and they won with 1 ball to spare. He had a 21 not out and a 19 not out. They don't jump out in the stats, but they won 2 of those games, and he was striking roughly, I think it was roughly around 200 in those little 3 cameos, and they were crucial in Cornwall winning those games.
And that's what I think these days we're calling impact players, aren't we? These guys are coming out, and it's it's a word that 5 years ago in cricket we hardly ever used, but now you watch the IPL, you watch who's that impact player in the matchups, and that's exactly what those guys are put out there for, isn't it?
It is, and you've got the impact players that kind of are in the middle, and then you've got the finishers, like we were just alluding to with him. So you've got all these different names for these players now that sit into the brackets of what they do. You've got the power play in the T20, that you've got the people who want to go in and make the most of those power plays. You've then got what used to be a consolidation in the middle, which has kind of shrunk and sometimes is nothing if you've had a good power play. And then you've got the finishers coming in and belting it at the end. And
any plans on bringing the IPL style impact player rule into the NCCA?
Yeah, not at the moment. I think we'll stick with the way we are at the moment. I don't need any more admin to manage, but I think it naturally does it, right? You got to, if you have a good power play in those first load of overs and you don't lose many wickets, people just tend to kick on and they don't go, well, we're not going to now suddenly start knocking it around. And that's where you start seeing the scores, like in the IPL, there's been a couple of 270s, 230s, 240s, and even when T20 was first introduced over here, you didn't have those scores. It was kind of like, what's a good score? And I suppose you had that in the 100 to begin with as well. Like, what's a good score? 130, that seems pretty good. 140. And everyone seems to play to that, but it's like the Roger Bannister thing, isn't it? Once you've run a 4-minute mark, then everyone kind of does it. So once you've hit that 200 mark, it's like, right, everyone's perception changes, everyone's style changes, and you sort of get crazy scores. But yeah, it's certainly entertaining.
So you played in the original T20 Blast, is that right, Richard?
I did, yeah.
How many seasons of T20 Blast did you play in?
In and out, I think I played 2 or 3 years at Notts, and then probably 4 years after that. In and out a little bit. How did
it change from the first sort of games that you're involved with in terms of preparation, mentality, compared with how it in sort of the last games that you played?
Well, I think when we first started, it was a bit crash bang wallop with the bat, and people felt like you just got to whack every ball. And then as it progressed quite quickly, you thought you've got a bit more time than you think. So I think that's where the whole working out what was a good score, taking out the sort of wicket and everything else, and those conversations take place. But from a strategical point of view, it was like, what is a good score? Is it a 120, a 130, 140, 150? And people, I think, quite quickly went, right, we do need to separate this. It's not just about trying to go out, and people were getting bowled out within those 20 overs, which actually you probably look at and go, you shouldn't really be bowled out in a T20 game. But so I think that's certainly changed. I think from a bowling perspective, it was all about picking up wickets, not necessarily going for few runs, but you knew that the same whole thing with the batting. If you can pick up wickets and clumps of wickets, the momentum changes, and we all know that a new batter could come in and whack a couple of balls for six, but it's a lot easier for somebody who's set to do that. So picking up those wickets and clumps of 2 or 3 is invaluable in T20 cricket. So yeah, I think I'd probably say that's the biggest change for me.
Which is the perfect introduction to, let's have a look at those bowlers over the last couple of weeks. Who stood out there for us? There's a couple of there's quite a few threefers during, and a couple of fifers, I think, as well. But some really good bowling going on in the last couple of weeks, hasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I've got Andy Hanby, top of the wickets there for Norfolk, 10 wickets at 9, economy of just under 6, which is very handy. A. Hines, we're not quite sure on his first name, Herefordshire, so someone's going to have to help us out there. 10 wickets as well in the 4 games that they managed. And then looking at the economies rates, there's a few really, really good economy rates with a few matches played. So, and Ewan Woods there of Berkshire, just Berkshire, isn't it? Economy of 3.5, and he got 4 wickets there at 9. But keeping people under 4 and over, that's exceptional in T20 cricket.
Definitely. I think we go back to the impact again, and I did tweet it over the weekend. A good friend of the pod, and one of the England winners from last year's European Championship, Tommy Sturgis, taking 3 wickets in 5 balls for Berkshire. That's the perfect example of how that impact happens with a bowling machine, doesn't it? Basically,
there's no doubt that when he would have taken that, and I can't recall which 3 wickets it was, but you're going to be taking out the guts of a team there, aren't you? If you're taking 3 wickets in 5 balls, and that really does affect the sort of acceleration that you can implement on an innings. So doing that just shows why he's one of the best bowlers in our cricket.
When it comes to the NCCA lads, do they have a favourite? Obviously you often hear, we were chatting to them, and actually the longer form seems to be the favourite for quite a lot of them. But do you find that there's certain groups of the lads that are really love the T20 and the format as opposed to the other 2 formats?
Well, good question. I don't actually. What I do know is that all the lads love playing 3-day cricket. I think it's quite a true reflection of the way the England players talk about Test cricket. Everyone knows that to really test yourself as a cricketer, you've got to play multi-day format, and you've got to perform well over a long period of time. That really tests the sort of skills, the fundamental skills, and your other skills, your stamina and everything else. So I think that is a really good reflection of the very top level, and that sort of filters all the way through. Having said that, I know that the lads love playing T20, the coloured clothes, the white ball, the whacking it, and all that kind of stuff. So I do think there's a really good appreciation for all the different formats, and we're really mindful. I think we've talked about this on another podcast. We're really mindful of the way that we structure our season to ensure that we're giving lads opportunities. So our T20 runs into the Blast, our 50 stuff runs into the Metro Bank, and then we have our 3-day stuff at the end when the wickets are better. So it's going to be more of a fair contest over those 3 days that we play. So I think I can't obviously speak for all the players, but I'd say that a majority of them really do love playing the 3-day stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of fun to be had in the white ball stuff as well.
With the Metrobank being, what it is, a slightly compromised tournament with the 100 taking players in the top, actually is a great opportunity for these guys, the NCCA players, second team cricketers, to come into that. So it's in a funny way, it's sort of helping the lower ends of professional cricket by having the 100. There's lots of grumblings about it, but actually there's a big positive there as well.
Yeah, and I see that as a big positive, because I think if we changed our perception of the 50 over competition and didn't see it as and these aren't my words, like a second-rate competition, then I think we could really see it as a hugely positive thing in the pathway, because it is opening up opportunities for other people. And that might be contracted players that aren't getting in the team, but they get given a go in the 50 over and they have a couple of really great performances, and then that kind of establishes them and kickstarts their career. Subsequently, give 1 or 2 odd people the opportunity that are outside of the county to in our cricket to step up and also have that same opportunity. So for me, if we changed our perception of it, and when I say we, I don't mean anybody in particular, but if we looked at it as a really positive thing, I think it absolutely could be. And we're always trying to prepare our players for being in a position where if an opportunity like that came up, they could take it with both hands. And the way we're trying to do that is to make the gap between our cricket and first class cricket smaller. And I'm not looking to leapfrog second 11 cricket at all, but if we can have our players prepared in such a way that when they get an opportunity, they could be put straight into a first team, then I think we're doing the job right. And we can work in conjunction with the second team stuff. And there's I know that a lot of our players are getting pulled from pillar to post with lots of different cricket and lots of different opportunities, which is great. But they're also potentially going to be knackered in 2 or 3 weeks' time, having played so much cricket for their universities, for national counties, their clubs, second 11 stuff. And they want to take all these opportunities. But I think there does need to be a greater conversation and slightly better communication maybe between all those stakeholders that I've just mentioned to ensure that we've got the players' development at the base of our decision, rather than necessarily, crikey, we need to get a team in, we need to get 3 or 4 trialists, or we want to keep those players because they're our players. Well, let's have a joined-up conversation to say, well, what is best for that particular player at that particular time? And that might be to play for the Challengers, it might be to play for their national county, or it might be to play for a second 11. I don't think there's a universal answer to who the best person to play for is at any one time. I think we have to look at it with all that context about who the player is, at what stage they're at, what is the first class county that wants to play them, what's their national county, or what is the Challengers fixtures. Because you could argue that in the next few days when we play against Leicestershire first team, that's a better opportunity than playing in a second 11 game.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but it's the conversation we need to be having with people to say there is this opportunity, and if you monitor that game closely, that's as good as seeing them firsthand in some ways.
Definitely. Hey, we'll come to the Challengers in a second because it's a really exciting time. But we have T20 group stage done. We've got a week off where the NCCA counties are going to be playing 50-over cricket this weekend. The start of the trophy there. But then the weekend after, 19th of May, we're all going to be hoping and praying and doing everything we possibly can for good weather for the Super 12s. And the 12 counties who've gone through, slightly different to what people might have thought because of a little foible in the rules, let's put it that way. But we've got 4 groups of 3. Cumbria, Lincolnshire and Herefordshire are going to be playing together. Norfolk, Hertfordshire and Staffordshire are in another group because they've been put back into the competition, having been came third place but not good enough to go through because unfortunately Northumberland fell foul of the rules. Is that I think it's the best way to describe it, isn't it, Richard?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Keep it simple. Oxfordshire, Dorset and Cambridgeshire in another group, and then Berkshire, Shropshire and Cornwall. So 4 groups of 3 going to play 3 games on 19th of May at 4 different venues around the country. And basically, winner takes all to go to finals day, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So we've called it the Super 12s. The top 2 in each of the groups went through. So that gave us the 10 teams, the 2 third place, the best third place finishers added to that. And then we've kind of split them up. We had a template we were working towards, and we're making sure the geography worked because we appreciate people have to travel on Saturday nights as well. So we can't necessarily have Northumberland and Cornwall in the same group, or Cumbria and Dorset, because it's just logistically not feasible. But I think the way we've worked it, there is a little bit of travelling, but we're a national competition as well, right? So
exactly.
We want to make sure that people are playing against each other, and they're playing against some teams that they don't necessarily play in that format, which is a nice change. But yeah, those groups are going to be hosted by Cumbria, Norfolk, Oxfordshire and Berkshire. So there's a really nice split as well around the country. So if you want to go and watch any cricket, there'll be some really high quality cricket. The way that we're going to structure those games is probably the last point I'll talk on saying it, is that the way the Super 12 days will work is the team that travel the furthest will get to play in the second game. So it just gives them a little bit of a respite in the morning. The other 2 games will play off against each other. That will be the host and obviously the other team. And then the second game will be the team that loses that first fixture, and obviously the team that hasn't played. So it just means that 4:30 on a Sunday, we'll have 4 games going on at the 4 venues, which will all be little mini finals. Yeah. So it will keep it interesting right to the end, which was another sort of key point of the restructure of the competition, really.
And if you can't get to those days at Cumbria, Norfolk, Oxfordshire or Berkshire, then they're all going to be live streamed as well, aren't they?
They are, yeah. They will be. So they'll all be online.
And we'll be doing what we normally do, and that is I'll be sat in front of a computer, probably have 4 different screens on the go, and be watching all 4 to see what's cracking off there, because what could go wrong? It's got to be great fun, hasn't it, watching 4 different games at the same time?
Well, I certainly hope so. It'll be a lot of fun for me if it doesn't rain, because if it does rain, it's going to take me back to my maths GCSE somewhat, and I'm not overly comfortable with that. So, yeah, fingers crossed we get another day of sunshine, or a day of sunshine, should I say. But I know the last couple of days have been nice as well. So long may it continue.
Definitely. And then the 4 winners from those 4 groups, dead simple, week after, we all meet up at Chester Broughton Hall on Sunday the 26th of May. Again, there'll be 4 teams there, and three matches on the day there, Richard?
Yeah, that's the traditional T20 finals day structure. So 4 teams, 2 semi-finals and a final. And jobs are good.
And Chester Broughton Hall, from what we've seen in the last week or two, looks to be a decent deck for some runs going up there, Hugh, doesn't it?
Well, there's been a bit about, isn't there? Yeah. So that league's definitely, there's a few scored there anyway, and they're one of the better tracks in the league. So yeah, should be a high scoring games. Hopefully, if we can get some decent weather.
So if you're listening for the first time or not aware of what's going on, keep an eye on our Twitter and our Instagram. We'll be putting out there, but also keep an eye on the NCCA socials. We'll be putting a lot of information out in regards to these Super 12s on the 19th and the finals day on the 26th. And let's support those national counties as much as possible, because you're going to see some unbelievably good quality cricket, which brings me neatly round to what's happening this Thursday and Friday, which Richard's already alluded to. And we've got the NCCA representative team is now called the Challengers. Is that the best way to describe it, Richard?
Yeah, that's right. It is. So it's we've been working with a group of our sort of best players for 2 or 3 years now, because of the ECC tournament. We've extended our winter programme slightly this winter to have 3 training sessions with that group. There's 30 to 32 players that are kind of in the overall squad. It's definitely not closed off. There's people beating that door down already. So, but we've selected 14 to play this week, where we've got 2 days worth of cricket against Leicestershire first team. We're going to be playing against a really strong Leicestershire setup. A lot of I think it's nearly all of their first teamers are playing, which is brilliant. Really good test for our guys. We've got 1 T20 game at Uppingham School on Thursday, starts at 2:30, and then we've got 2 T20s on the Friday, starting at 2:30 and 6:30. So one of those is going to go into a day-night game, which is super exciting as well. So yeah, we've got that going on. We've got a game at the end of May. We're part of the ECS England tournament at Wimbledon at the end of the month as well, and then we've got some other formatted games. We're playing a 50-over game against Hampshire and some other things to keep your eye out for towards the back end of the year.
Going to be a busy period, isn't it, now for the Challengers? And you talk about pulling the guys from pillar to post, from club to NCCA county, maybe some second team cricket. But these are top quality games they're going to be playing against Leicestershire, aren't they, and against Sussex in a few weeks' time. You're not going to get better experience, really.
Well, hopefully not. And that was the idea, that we wanted to set the Challengers apart by getting fixtures against the first 11s, because we know there's a lot of second team cricket out there, and to pull players out of second 11 cricket to play against a second 11, and absolutely no disrespect to that at all, but what's the objective there? Well, if the objective is to play against the first 11, then that's a greater experience. It's a better shot window, potentially. So that was definitely our aim, and Leicestershire have been brilliant. Sussex have been great, as have Hampshire. So it's hopefully we can put in some really good performances. But the key thing for me is that the players just get a little bit better from that experience. It's not about necessarily going in and winning the games, albeit obviously we'll be trying to do that. But even if we don't, it's the point of we're on a journey, and where we end up, whether it be next year, the year after, or wherever we end up in whatever competition, it can only bode well for the lads to have these experiences.
It also, I suspect, demystifies, for the lads that maybe don't have any first class experience or top level experience, demystifies it a little bit by playing against these top players. You've got in Leicestershire, you've got 2 Aussie Test players in that side, 2 recent Test players in that side, and just coming up against them, I can imagine it just takes the sheen off. Oh, they're just cricketers, just like me. There's not this, maybe takes a bit of the nervousness away. So when they do come up against these top level players, they're more prepared.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the more you can look them in the whites of their eyes and run in against them and bowl, and if you get them out, then it's just another person with a bat in their hand, or another bowler running in with a cricket ball. We'll see how that works out. I never used to think that when I was running in against some of the people I had to bowl at, but it's That's half the battle, isn't it? We know that. We know there's a lot of talent. All the talent in the world is out there playing cricket in first-class stuff, in national county stuff. It's really goes back to what's between your ears and how you can deal with those situations. So the more we can put those players in those situations, in those challenging situations, the better, really. And that's why it's so key that we've got a lot of very good people around them to support them through that process, because it's uncomfortable. You have to go into those situations to learn about yourself and to become a better player, but it's key that we support them in the right way as well.
Definitely. We've been talking in previous episodes about getting this group back into one of the competitions in the future, whether it be the Blast or whether it be the Metro Bank, whichever comes first. This is part of that stepping stone process, isn't it, for it?
It is, definitely. From a preparation perspective, it certainly is. And if we don't win any games that we play this year, I don't think that's a reflection of whether we should or shouldn't be in a team, because in a competition, because we've got another 15 or 16 months of preparation to do to be put into a competition potentially. Whether it is that next year or not, I don't know. But that's how we're certainly looking at it. This is a phase of training, a phase of preparation that we want to go through to make sure that we hit the ground running next year or the year after or whatever it is. We want to be fully prepared whenever that opportunity arises.
It's a really exciting phase. There's no two ways about it. And I'm looking forward to Uppingham. The sun's shining up here in the Midlands right now. And fingers crossed it stays like this for the next 48 hours and we get some really good quality T20 cricket. It's going to be, a great Leicestershire squad are going to be there. And everyone's going to get a go because they're going to use it as their warm-up for the Vitality Blast as well, aren't they?
Yeah, and what I've heard, it's going to be more than a team and a team and a half. So it's, and like I said, it's a great opportunity to showcase what our boys can do. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting cracking with it all.
Definitely. Hey, look forward to seeing you up at Uppingham tomorrow, Richard. Thanks for your time again. We'll see you up there tomorrow and we'll talk about this in the next couple of weeks and get ready for the Super 12s and finals day.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, guys.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Richard.
Thanks for listening to the Premier League Cricket Show. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes and stay updated on all the latest news, views and discussions from around the Cricket's Premier Leagues. And be sure to follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram at TPL Cricket Show on both. Join the conversation, share your thoughts and connect with us and your fellow Premier League cricket fans. And hey, if you enjoyed the show, why not show us some love? Leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast platform, as it helps other potential listeners to find us when they're searching for cricketing podcasts. Thanks again for being part of the Premier League Cricket Show family, and until next time, have a good one.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.